And we are recording. Excellent. So, not going to repeat everything I just said, but essentially we're talking about Enneagram 4, which is the least satisfied of all characters. I would say it's actually tied with the Enneagram 5, but main difference between 4 and 5 is that Enneagram 5 involves resignation and giving up when confronted with your sense of lack, whereas the Enneagram 4 struggles to claim, struggles to have for themselves, but it gets a little tricky because they end up self-frustrating a lot of the time. Let's talk about that. The emotional state of envy involves a painful sense of lack and a craving toward that which is felt lacking, the most lacking of all characters. Though an understandable reaction to early frustration and deprivation, it constitutes a self-frustrating factor in the psyche, for the excessive craving for love that it entails never answers the chronic sense of inner scarcity and badness. So no matter how much this character goes out to find something into the world to give to itself, to fulfill its longing, it will never fulfill it. The sense of inner scarcity and badness is not in reference to an actual scarcity or an actual objectively provable badness, but simply a feeling that this character has. And when you're dealing with something like that, you really can't vanquish that by feeding. It's like they have a black hole in their stomach. And they eat and they eat and they think, I'll be fine. I'll be better once I have this person. I'll be better once I have this skill. Once I'm a good dancer, I'll be fine. Once I'm an amazing artist, then I'll be fine. I'll be fine once I have. And they go and they try and get it. But it doesn't matter because that's not why they're upset. They're upset because of their neuroses, their irrational, crazy idea. So, we're going to reach that idea in a little bit here. The position of envy in the Enneagram is a satellite to vanity and the neighbor to point 5, which is avarice, or Enneagram 5's greed. It entails the same sense, or a comparable sense of deprivation to envy, which is what I just said, though it involves a different attitude. So 4s are going to reach out with intense demand, and 5s, they just give up, and instead of saying, I'm going to go out and get, the 5 says, well, I'm going to take control of what I already have so as to not spend it, so as to not lose it. So it's more conservation versus conquering or grabbing. The connection with vanity is even more important than the one with avarice, since the 4 constitutes a member of the triad in the right corner of the Enneagram, which as a whole gravitates towards a concern with image of self. The 3 identifies with the part of the self which is ideal. And so, I'm the hardest worker, I'm the most competitive, I'm the guy who goes out and gets it done, I'm the best Enneagram type, or I'm the best typist. Mercer, for example, he's a social 3. If you guys watch Mongolian Mindset, he's a social 3, and he identifies with that image of he's the best player of games, whatever game he plays, the best typist. He associates himself with that positive ideal image. And the Enneagram Type 4 also has an idealized image that they identify with. It's not a positive image, though. It identifies with the part of the psyche which fails to fit the idealized image, which is why I was talking just a bit ago about once I have this trait, then I'll be good enough, And then they get it. They still don't feel good enough because they identify with any sense of lack whatsoever. Always striving to achieve the unattainable. Yeah. Here is a person animated by a vanity that fails to reach its goal, as opposed to, I identify that I'm the most attractive person for the sexual 3, or I'm the hardest working, I have the most achievements, I have the most resources for self-preservation 3. I have the most knowledge and expertise and ability. Whereas with the 4, it's I don't have it, but I am moving towards it. Because of the admixture of a sense of scarcity and worthlessness. You'll notice how it references a lot whenever we talk about types. It references types that are adjacent to them. So if you find that you're having a hard time knowing what your type is, best thing to do is narrow down which pair of 3 you feel most connected to. So I'm over here trying to figure out, am I 1, 2, or 3? Because I look at that triad, the image dependency of 3, pride of 2, perfectionism and demandingness of the 1, and this is the 3 that I feel the closest to. Then you take a look at someone like Chai. She's probably going to feel closer to 6, 5, and 4. So you want to look at not just Enneagram types, but triads, not like the official triads, but you want to look at groups of 3 and say, which 3 altogether am I most like? That's how you narrow down your type, because type adjacency matters a lot. Even through Enneatypes mapped at the position 4 and 5, they have in common the sense of, I'm worthless, they're so guilty, they lack, and both may be described as depressed. They are in marked contrast in various regards. This is important. While guilt in envy is conscious torture, in avarice it is partially veiled by a seeming moral indifference. Depression in envy manifests as overt grief. This is the 4. While the avaricious, the 5, have trouble in crying or contacting their pain. So they do feel that sense of lack, but because of the defense mechanism of isolation and the fact that the 5 is an intellectual character, they're not even in contact with their sobbing, with their pain, and it can be really frustrating to harbor a pain, harbor a burden that you're not even aware of. That's how the 5 feels. The 4 is very much in contact with that feeling of lack. We actually have an Enneagram 4 here with us. Go ahead and say hi, Audrey.
Hi.
Audrey's my sister, and she is the Enneagram 4 of all Enneagram 4s, let me tell you.
The queen of
The queen of Enneagram
Enneagram 4s.
4s.
I'm so special.
The queen of suffering.
It's really not that fun, but it's also really fun at the same time because it's like, you end up in that weird trap of like, oh, nobody knows what I'm going through, but at the same time it's like, nobody knows what I'm going through. And it's like,
It's a really perverse sense of...
It is. You end up with this sense of kind of like this grandiose semi-self-absorption. Because it's like, I always say, one of the things like one of my therapists said to me once, I didn't get a lot out of the good stuff out of this guy, because he was convinced that I was like the best thing ever. And I really wasn't. I was kind of a piece of shit. But one of the best things that I got out of him is there's no such thing as low self-esteem. There is only such a thing as negative self-absorption.
Negative self-absorption. Can you talk about that?
Well, the way that you end up with it is like, I have to be a good person outwardly because I'm a bad person internally. And so like you end up, all of your motivation comes from this sense of like, I'm guilty of something and I don't even know what I did, right? And so you end up in this spiral, this loop of like, okay, well, if I'm guilty, obviously I have to atone. And then all of your positive action comes from this sense of a requirement of atonement. And so you pretty much become this like living sacrifice to yourself, and you end up with this weird perverse God complex where it's like you're simultaneously the most important thing ever and the worst thing to ever exist. So you end up like this perpetual victim, but the perpetrator is yourself.
Interesting. So you are both your own murderer and the victim of that murder.
I am a warlock bound to the deity that is myself.
I hope most of you got all of that, because that is Enneagram 4 in a nutshell. She just, without knowing too much, thank you, Beckett. She's SX4. She could be SO4. There's a little bit I would move towards the gayest type since Chama and Datum. Very true. Yeah, it was very articulate, and I'll tell you, right there, we're going to be discovering a lot of that as we scroll down here.
Right, and if you ever want my input on something, I'm gonna make more coffee, but if you want my input on something, do you want coffee?
You know what? Go ahead. Yeah.
I shall craft you a beverage.
Thank you.
I like crafting people beverages. If any of y'all ever make your way over here, I'll make you a fire latte.
Can I have a beverage?
Yeah.
She's an expert at beverages. She's phenomenal. One of the best. But we're going to go over that. That was a very Enneagram 4. Like, you're about to see some textbook stuff. I'm really excited. Let's go to here, because I found this to be one of the most important things. While Enneatype 5 involves the internal atmosphere of quietness, for the 4, it is of turmoil and turbulence. As she just described, she has a very tumultuous inner world. The most characteristic aspect of the 4, besides envious motivation, may be seen in the tendency to self-victimization and frustration, like she just said. Now we go here. We're going to skip past this. There's a lot of abstract stuff here. And it's not terribly important. I don't want to spend y'all's time on this. Although, a deep dive may be warranted at a later date. Who knows? Trait structure of envy. If we understand the essence of envy as an excessively intense desire for incorporation of the good mother, The concept coincides with the psychoanalytical notion of a cannibalistic impulse, which may manifest not only as a love-hunger, but a more generalized voraciousness or greediness. It's about that going out into the world and grabbing and claiming and working to take the object without and to make the good out there a part of you within. But of course, that never feeds the hunger appropriately. What about making fine wine as a beverage? Do you think you could ever make fine wine?
I tried once. It didn't go very well just because I don't have like the right kits or anything. It's also kind of illegal because I am technically like not able to drink alcohol. I got like a really good like almost mead out of it, but I let it ferment for too long under the wrong conditions and it just kind of ended up fucked. So, I know how.
I will not request illegal things from you while a recording is happening.
Yeah, give me a couple years. Just give me a couple years.
Very good. So, something interesting to note here. I think this is going to be super important. Klein talks about how the envy is something which causes them to reach toward the object of their envy and demand more from it than it is capable of giving. And not only that, but also demanding more than they actually need. Like it says right here, greed is an impetuous and insatiable craving exceeding what the subject needs and what the object is able and willing to give. So they want more than they need, and they ask for more than can be asked for, reasonably. At the unconscious level, greed aims primarily at completely scooping out, sucking dry, and devouring the breast. That is to say, its aim is destructive introjection. Whereas envy not only seeks to rob in this way, but also to put a badness, primarily bad excrements and bad part of the self, into the mother, and first of all into her breast in order to spoil and destroy her. In the deepest sense, this means destroying her creativeness. And so Naranjo says, well, whether or not that's true, the point is that this is a good symbolic expression for the experience of the adult, and more particularly the characteristic process of self-frustration. That's what this is. You're destroying the thing that you desire to scoop out and to put into yourself. And so basically you've found as an Enneagram 4, you find a gold mine and you obsessively mine it and you don't treat it well until all of those resources are gone and the cave is destroyed, and then you gave away your gold, spent it improperly, and now you're like, oh, woe is me, I no longer have a gold mine.
You want to know what I've actually found is a lot of the time, if you find an Enneagram 4, at least for some of us, one of the ways that we manifest that, like you'll see a lot of the people who make like eating disorder recovery content, let's say, like on the internet, are, from what I have seen, Enneagram 4s. And one of the things that like you see a lot from them is, like you were talking about, that kind of like, oh, well, there's nothing good in here, so maybe if I incorporate what I perceive as good and what I envy in my external world, let's say in the case of this, it would be like having the body that I want, or engaging in the activities that I want, and you end up idolizing this kind of sense of, well, oh, if I can achieve that, then I will become the virtues that I see in people who are like that.
It's a very unfavorable comparison.
Right, it is. Because what you end up doing is, because virtue is not something that, is inherent in action, right? Virtue is not something that is inherent directly in an action, right? Like being skinny or becoming skinny is not a virtue. But what is a virtue is like self-control and the ability to regulate your life and schedule your life, like having control and order. And the mistake that I see a lot of Enneagram 4s making is thinking that the end result is the virtue and rather not what led up to the end result.
So they're not even appropriately envious.
No, they're not. Because it's like, if I can achieve X, then I will be Y, but we're not even talking about the same coordinate plane. It's like...
They got their maps messed up.
They've got their maps completely messed up. And when you start to see an Enneagram 4 who has dug themselves all the way down, come back from that, it's really, really hard, because what we're doing is relearning the process sense of virtue backwards.
Mm.
Enneagram 4s have no internal sense of virtue. At least from my experience with the particular kind of 4 that I am, I have no internal sense of virtues or how they work. Right? Like, all I can do is look at the end result and go, oh, I want that. And it doesn't matter what I have to destroy about myself or other people to get there.
Got it.
Which is why, like, I fell kind of into the trap of, like, relying way too heavily on other people to regulate my internal world. Like, running problems by everybody instead of just dealing with them myself. Because I know that my problem solving is fucked up. Right? Like, I don't approach problems appropriately.
You're identifying with the part of self that is insufficient.
Yes. And so I'm like, okay, well, my problem is that I'm an angry person, let's say. Well, the solution to that is, of course, to learn how to regulate my emotions and figure out what's making me angry and how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. When I need to deal with it, feel my, all of that fun stuff that they teach you in normal Peopleville. The way that I approach that is, oh, I'm an angry person. The solution to not be an angry person is to make myself look as much like a happy person as possible, regardless of what happens otherwise. Internally, right? It's all about the mask, the outward appearance, about making myself look as good as possible. This is why a lot of 4s also deal with imposter syndrome, like heavy imposter syndrome.
Do you think, I actually have the personal opinion that Enneagram 4s deal with imposter syndrome the most. Because they're consistently moving towards that betterment, but they never feel that betterment.
We never feel it, partially because we don't actually ever achieve it unless we're pretty mature and we understand like what's going on with ourselves. Because again, it's that constant striving for the outward appearance. But again, virtue is not an end result. It's a course of
it's a process.
But we see virtue as the end result. And so when we've attained this virtue, this quote unquote virtue, we're like, great. I've achieved all of this stuff, and I still feel hollow inside. That must mean that I really am a worthless piece of shit, and that's how, like, people end up dead. It's kind of like, if you don't ever recognize that, you're just gonna die, right? Like, you're not gonna start getting better if you do not come to the conclusion that, like, oh, well, this outward appearance, it doesn't matter. You're not gonna survive as an Enneagram 4.
So Enneagram 4s, your advice to Enneagram 4s would be to attain virtue as a process, not as a product.
Yes.
Excellent. I think that's actually very trenchant observation from her. I wouldn't have thought of all that. Let's see.
What's chat? Chat, what's going on in chat?
Say hi to the chat. Chat, say hi to
chat.
Audrey. She's very cool. Yeah, they're saying hi.
It's her.
Yeah, look at that.
Whoa!
Akari says sup. He's too cool for normal human beings.
Oh, you fucking edgelord. I hate you.
Dentist sister. Datum calls me dentist. I don't quite remember why.
Little Shop of Horrors vibes from this guy, not gonna lie.
From Datum?
No, from you.
Little Shop of Horrors?
You are the dentist.
From Little Shop of Horrors?
I mean, listen, man. See? She knows.
Being process-oriented is always correlated with growth. Very true.
That's true. Not 100% of the time, in my opinion, but most of the time, yes. Because sometimes you end up idolizing the process and you ignore growth for the sake of the process, right? So you end up regressing because you're prioritizing, again, well, it looks like I'm a process-oriented right? So with an Enneagram 4, there is always the capacity to take good statements like that and make them into something perverse because we need to be good enough.
Very true. Chai says Blackstone's sister is his handler today. Oh, always.
Of course.
She is my handler. She tells me how to behave.
I do. I'm gonna go make your coffee.
Appreciate it. She's got strings on him. Oh, yes. My sister has strings on everybody. Not as like some kind of vicious manipulator, but...
evil. I'm just a possessive person as a concept in general.
You're a possessive person.
I like my stuff. And I like other people's stuff.
I like my stuff and I like other people's stuff. Audrey's a really good cook. Oh, Carly says you're a good cook, Audrey.
Thank you, Carly. I love you.
Very true. Sometimes you can learn more by using comparisons, but sure. I like to find a balance. Because if you focus entirely in isolation, what ends up happening is you ignore how they're similar to other types, which can lead to mistyping. But then if you focus too much on other types, you end up not getting anywhere. So let's go ahead and continue striking that balance. Go to the next trait. Yeah, poor self-image, obviously, what she just said. I think Audrey almost summed up pretty much everything. Feeling inadequate, prone to shame, there's a sense of ridicule, feeling unintelligent, ugly, repulsive, rotten, poisonous, and so on. This is making me consider the types of other people that I know. Even though I have chosen to speak of a bad self-image, it's impossible to dissociate it from envy, which object relation theorists interpret as the consequence of the introjection of a bad object. It is such self-denigration that creates the whole, out of which arises the veracity of envy proper in its clinging, demanding, biting, dependent, over-attached manifestations. Very hard on themselves. And I hardly think we need to go all too much into the rest of this. I think we can actually end this in about 5 to 10 minutes, like 5 minutes here, because Audrey covered most of it very articulately. This is why we need real-life examples up here on the stage. So in a couple weeks when we focus on 4, well, I'm going to see if I can get Chai or Sunyata to talk a great deal about being an Enneagram 5. Possessed by a deep longing, dominated by nostalgia, intimately forlorn, sometimes visibly liquid-eyed and languorous. Languorous? I can't read. They're usually pessimistic, often bitter, and sometimes cynical. Moving toward what we talked about earlier about reaching out into the world. Not only as clinging to relationships that are frustrating, but as an adhesiveness. Audrey said, I don't know if you guys can hear her in the kitchen, but she said that she's very possessive of her things, of her people. They have clinginess, and it can be really draining. This is why, Chai, I believe you've mentioned, I'm not going to name names, but you've mentioned that Enneagram 4s are very frustrating for you because they cling to you. They are literally adhesive to you. They stick to you and drain you of what little you feel you have. A subtle imposition of contact, which seems the outcome of not only a contact need, but an anticipated defense or postponement of separation. So you might find them with a lot of separation anxiety. Related to the craving for care, they crave for care, they really do. Commonly observed as helplessness. We go to nurturance. They are considered thoughtful, understanding, apologetic, soft, and gentle. So these are the people who are like, thank you so much. Oh, it's beautiful. Did you do anything differently? This is better than this morning.
I got the machine working properly.
Excellent, thank you so much. Their nurturing quality not only appears to constitute a form of giving to get, i.e. dependent on the love need alone, but on an empathic identification with the needs of others that causes them to be concerned parents. So this is your therapist friend who heals everyone else but can't heal themselves. Which Audrey plays that role phenomenally. She just gave me a nod confirming that she does. So if any of you know someone who's the concerned mother or the concerned father who's always taking care of you, like, yeah, man, I get it. You feel this way, you feel that. It's awful. Let me be there for you and with you. But then you go into their inner life and they're like the most tortured, chaotic person imaginable, 90% chance you're looking at an Enneagram 4.
Online content creators.
Online content creators.
Online content creators who make all that really, really relatable recovery content or content about mental health, but somehow are always like, man, I can't get over it. Those are your Enneagram 4s because we need to be seen and recognized, but we refuse to be anything other than what we are.
Do you refuse to be helped?
Yes. It is a willful helplessness that we have.
Willful helplessness. I would write that down. That is key to E4.
It is willful helplessness because we also need to know. It's also a manipulation tactic. Like when you really get down to it, Enneagram 4s are some of the most manipulative people you'll ever meet because we hold on to that willful helplessness as a tool to make sure that people still care about us.
Right. Did you see that? Hold on. You almost said word for word what Naranjo says earlier. I can't exactly find it because I'm so shocked that you just said it. But they talk about the self-frustration somewhere, and we're going to look at this later in the subtypes, but if you look at E4 NVIDIA and you go deep into here, he talks about how they stay in their state of suffering in order to gain love from others.
Right,
Like, they're...
we think that we don't have anything to offer except for being taken care of.
Nothing to offer except being taken care of. That is so screwy.
Right, it is. It's horrid because it's like the only purpose I feel like I fulfill is either to dedicate my entire heart and soul to taking care of others or to make other people feel useful.
To make other people feel useful. So that's what you have to offer others.
Well, and there's specific types. I don't know which. I'm not educated enough on any other type but my own to actually like figure this out. But there are other type, like Cooper, for example, my friend. He was like all invested in taking care of me and doing all this. And every time I would tell him, I'm like, dude, if you don't want me to talk to you about this stuff, say the word. I'll back down. Totally fine by me. And he always refused to stop allowing me to pretty much be like a daughter character to him almost.
Interesting. So you simultaneously play the role first of, hey, I'm a concerned caretaker for you, and then later on in the relationship, there's an unconscious expectation of receiving the care for being a suffering character.
It never happens on purpose, ever. It's not even a conscious expectation, but there was a definite switch at some point.
Where you went from caretaker to care receiving.
Right. Because then once the other person is capable, it's like, okay, well, I've poured out everything I have, and it's really... Enneagram Fours lean towards codependency a lot. Again, because we have that, like, I've poured out all my heart and soul into taking care of you, and now it's your turn to see if you still care about me. It's a test, right? Like, are you only using me because I make you feel good about yourself, or do you actually care enough to try and help me? And again, it's that staying in that state of suffering for actually, like, making sure people love you. It's kind of fucked up.
Very well said. Very well said.
What does E4 do that E5 doesn't do at all?
This is what... She was talking about what you're saying earlier. I don't remember precisely what it was, but during some point while you were talking, just like 3 minutes ago, you said something that allowed her to distinguish between E4 and E5.
Okay.
The willful helplessness. Yes, that's exactly what makes E4 so distinguished. There's not a lot of Ennea types that are willfully helpless. There's only a handful, I would say.
No, and I mean, I would say, honestly, like, if they are willfully helpless, it's not willful, right? They're not thinking about it. But Enneagram 4s, like, I have a compulsion to be, they want to be safe from themselves. Kind of. Like, I personally don't really know if that's why I do it. Maybe on a subconscious level.
Really only dealt with SO4s. My condolences.
Oof. Yeah, so I don't like looking helpless for soothing other people's ego. Well, that's not it, though. That's not it.
I don't like looking helpless for soothing other people's ego. So you said you're looking helpless in front of other people in order to attain... What would you say if you had to shorten it?
If I had to condense it all the way down to attain affection and worth from the concept of other people paying attention to me.
Gotcha. This coffee's phenomenal. Y'all should come down here and have her make coffee for you. We'll have Oracle Con. We'll have Audrey make all the coffee.
I'm down.
That would be a lot of fun. But yes, we only need to take a look at a couple other things. Again, moving toward lots of nurturance constitutes a giving to get. High emotionality. Again, the emotionality is basically aroused by their sense of, oh, I lack and I'm going to get. Oh, look, I just frustrated myself. Oh, look, here's a new thing that will finally make me a good person. So, naturally, highly emotional. So, We are in the presence of an emotional type, just like with the 2, only here there's a greater mixture of intellectual interests and introversion. The quality of intense emotionality applies not only to the romantic feelings, the dramatization of suffering, and to the love-addicted and nurturing characteristics, but also to the expression of anger. Envious people feel hate intensely, and their screams are the most impressive. Also, oh, Audrey, talk about how you scream louder and harder than anyone else.
Hold on 1 second. There's coffee.
Coffee, yeah. Kind of a rhetorical request, but... You mean no Mooyah burgers?
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
I'm reading here in the emotionality section that there is a dominance of feeling. Like, it's not totally dominant because there's a lot of interest in intellectual activities. So it's not like the Enneagram 2, which is purely an emotional type. With the exception of social 2. But it has this... Yes?
I would say, as far as, like, if we have, like, a chart, right, where you have, like, you know, like, the classic, like...
The four option chart.
Right. And you've got, like, emotionally centered but intellectual, emotionally centered and just emotional, intellectual, and then, you know, the nothing, and then it's, like, intellectually centered but emotional, right? Like, where you have kind of
a mix.
First, right?
Primary, secondary stuff.
Right, primary, secondary stuff. As far as emotions are concerned, the way that I feel about things fuels the way in which I approach thinking about it.
So you have emotionality and intellect, but emotionality is, like, over it, and your intellect is subservient to your emotionality.
Yes, so it's like, if I wanted to gather facts about something, for example, if I felt particularly strongly on an intuitive basis, like on an intuitive level, that I didn't like that thing, I would go about seeking facts to confirm that, while at the same time knowing exactly what I'm doing.
So you're fully aware that you're...
I'm fully aware that I have confirmation bias, and sometimes I go for it anyway. And what a mature, healthy 4 is going to do is avoid that confirmation bias. Which is why, you know, we have the, you know, the emphasis of intellect, because what an emotionally emotional person would do is just go for the confirmation bias. But when you have emotion and intellect working together, but also separate, this is why it's so hard to be a 4, because you're aware of exactly what you're doing intellectually, but emotionally you're compelled to do it. It's like, you know, somebody's grabbing you by the foot and dragging you.
You're just aware enough to know it's all messed up, but not quite motivated enough to fix it.
Right, exactly, because it's comfortable. It's what I know.
Very human experience.
I would say, honestly, like, 4, if you were going to describe the human condition, you would use Enneagram 4 to do it.
Do you think the human race overall is Enneagram 4?
I think they might be.
That'll be something... That's a hot take.
Adam, listen. Adam in the garden. All I'm saying.
I got you. The human race in total. That's amazing. Oh.
If we're being biblical with it.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe that's blasphemous. I don't know.
Goodness, that gives me cause for great humor. Okay, let's see if we can wrap it up here. Competitive. Oh, this is all going to be recorded, by the way. I hope to put this in the Enneagram web so you guys can watch it on your own time. So that way, if you guys missed anything, well, actually, no, you didn't, because I recorded it. Competitive arrogance. Connected to a hateful emotionality, there's an attitude of superiority that sometimes exists with an incompensation for a bad self-image. Audrey talked about this a little bit earlier, that there's a bad self-image which exists kind of alongside an attitude of superiority. So again, this is a character very bifurcated and split in its self-image, where simultaneously, I'm better than you, I'll fight you, I'll take this from you, and then at the same time, I'm so awful, I don't have enough, I need to go out and get this thing. That's where their arrogance comes in. It's very different from the arrogance of an Enneagram 8, which is why Sunyata and I had a talk about how, he's like, well, you know, sexual 4 is basically just Enneagram 8. I'm like, no, it is not. And it is specifically because of this. The Enneagram 8 does not have a bad self-image, pretty much ever. SX4 still does, even if they kind of deny it. Please record all your lectures. I really should have been more responsible about recording all the other ones, but it's fine. We'll get to work on it. What's the YouTube channel? It's going to be called Oracle Psychology, I believe, but let's go ahead and wrap this up so I don't make a video that's too long, eh? So to sum it up, envy is the passion to control and calibrate one's own existence by comparing it to another's. The meaning of existence depends largely on the level of what is lacking and frustration regarding what is perceived as desirable in others. I am going to copy and paste. E4 in a nutshell. Do we have any questions or further deep dives that we need to do? If you guys haven't been present for a majority of the time here, because we've been doing this for 45 minutes, if you guys haven't been here for that, don't worry. I have recorded all of this. Do we have anything that needs answering or delving into before we end? Nothing? All right, if you guys have questions at a later date, or if you need to know something, you can go ahead and DM me. I'm going to end the recording right now. See y'all later.